9th ICSE Bio Chapter 2, the cell, the unit of life. All life on Earth is made up of cells, be it the microbes like amoeba, bacteria, paramecium, to the multicellular organisms like the whale, humans, etc. Viruses are not living things, they are not made up of cells. They are on the boundary of living and non living. Mark the definition of the cell. The cell is the fundamental structural and functional unit of all living beings, which means every structure in the body is made up of cell. The liver, the brain, the skin, the bones, and also the functional unit. Every function that we do is because of cells. Respiration, digestion, reproduction, responsiveness to stimuli, movement, everything is because of cells. Every organ is composed of hundreds of thousands of cells, be it plants or animals. Every cell has its own lifespan. For example, RBCs have a lifespan of 120 days. They are born in the bone marrow. So every day, new RBCs are born. Cells are so tiny that we need a microscope to understand their structures. Most organisms, including ourselves, start life as a single cell called the zygote. But we are talking about those that reproduce sexually. The zygote is formed by the fertilization between the male gamete and the female gamete. So even an elephant started its life as a zygote. And that single cell multiplies, divides to grow into the huge organism it is. Now, the invention of the microscope. The first microscope was constructed by Antony von Leeuwenhoek. He made a simple microscope, which was just a biconvex lens, just like a magnifying glass. It was able to magnify things up to 200 times. Now, cancel these lines. This diagram is not so important, so mark it as read. Whatever is marked as read means that nothing can be asked from it in the exams, but I'm not going to cancel it, keep it for extra knowledge. Next, Robert Hooke. He developed the compound microscope using two lenses. This way, he was able to get magnification up to 2000 times. The very first object he saw under the compound microscope was the slice of cork of a tree. He saw some box-like structures, and he was the one who called it cells. Now, what he actually saw were the cell walls of the cells. The modern compound microscope looks like this. Again, mark it as read. Even this diagram. No need to learn this. The most powerful microscopes are electron microscopes, which don't even use light. They use electrons, which are not bent by lenses, but by magnets. And they can give magnification of over 2 lakh times. They helped us discover the organelles inside the cell, like the nucleus, the mitochondria, etc. Next topic is cell theory. That's something you'll have to learn. 3 scientists contributed to the development of the theory. Matthias Schleiden. He announced that every plant is made up of cells responsible for life processes. A year later, Theodor Schwann, again a German zoologist, he made a similar declaration about animals. And finally, Rudolf Virchow claimed that all cells arise from pre-existing cells. Till now, we cannot produce a cell with the help of chemicals in the lab. A cell can be born only from a living cell. But then how did the first cell come into existence? Well, the theory of evolution has been explained by a different video. It was all accidental. The ball was set rolling after the Big Bang. So learn the cell theory. But what is the meaning of this? When we say that the cell is a structural unit, it means every part of the body, of every organism is made up of cells. When we say it's the functional unit, it means every function is because of cells. Be it movement of the frog is because of contraction of muscle cells. Digestion is because of enzymes released by the gut cells, the intestine cells. Photosynthesis is also because of cells having chloroplasts, and so on. Also, cells die regularly and they are replaced by new cells because of cell division. And all life starts off as a single cell. called the zygote. Remember, the bigger an organism, greater is the number of cells in the body. So the size of a cell in an elephant is almost same as the size of a cell in a leopard. It's just that the elephant has more number of cells. Now learn some examples of single-celled organisms. Bacteria, yeast, amoeba. Few-celled organisms will be Spirogyra volvox, and multi-celled organisms will be human beings, mango tree, etc. The blue box is again some extra information, just read it. Cells, how small are they? The smallest cells in the world are of bacteria, just around 0.3 to 5 micrometers. In the human body, the smallest cells are RBCs, around 7 micrometers. The longest cells are the nerve cells, especially the ones in our neck. The largest cells are the bird's egg cells before the cell division has started. Ostrich egg particularly is the largest cell, which is yellow in color. The white around it is called albumin, and then there is a white shell covering it. Those are not parts of the cells. Now, why are cells so small? Mark the give reason. There are two main reasons which make it very efficient. If the cells are small, then the different regions of the cell can communicate very rapidly with each other. Also, smaller the cell size, more is the surface area upon volume ratio. That is, the total surface area of all cells combined is far greater. It's something similar to when you fry potato chips. If you have a single potato, its surface area is limited. But if you cut it into smaller pieces, then the inner surfaces are also exposed, so they can be fried better. So it has total surface area greater. Similarly, the small size of the cells increases the total surface area upon volume ratio, which makes it easy for diffusion of substances in and out of the cell. Now cancel these two paragraphs in this diagram. But what are the substances which diffuse in and out of a cell? Well, nutrients go in, metabolic wastes like urea come out, respiratory gases like oxygen go in, carbon dioxide come out. Also, there is one more advantage of a small because of the smallness of the cell. Any damage to the cell can be easily repaired. Cells have various shapes to suit their functional requirement. Figure 2.5, single ticket, which means that diagram-based questions can be asked for identification, but drawing is highly unlikely to be asked here. Epithelial cells found in the skin and other parts of the body. RBCs, they are biconcave. WBCs are amoeboid. They can change their shape so that they can squeeze out of the blood vessels to fight the diseases. Cartilage cells are found in cartilages, which are softer than bones. Connective tissue, well, more about these tissues in the next chapter. Striated muscles are voluntary muscles. They are under our control. They have bands called striations. Nerve cells, also called neurons, found in our nerves and in our brain and spinal cord. They help in communicating impulses from one part of the body to another. Bone cells, also called osteocytes, and some are called osteoblasts, they are found inside the bones. Smooth muscle cells, they are involuntary. They are not in our control, like the ones in our iris. Chlamydomonas, it's a single-celled organism. It's photosynthetic. Plant cells, for example, the ones in the leaf, are different from animal cells because they have cell wall around it. Animals don't have it. And their vacuole is so large, the nucleus is pushed to the periphery. They are usually green because they have chloroplasts. Amoeba, they can change their shape. And the guard cells, which are usually found on the leaves, they have a pore-like structure they protect called the stomata. The guard cells can open or close the stomata, which helps in exchange of gases. You see, plants require carbon dioxide for photosynthesis, and they give out oxygen. Even transpiration can happen through stomata, that is evaporation of water. Now, why are RBCs biconcave? Mark the GR. And they're also circular. They're very tiny so that they can pass through the narrow capillaries of the blood vessels and reach the various nooks and corners of the body to deliver the oxygen. They have hemoglobin to transfer oxygen. The white blood cells are amoeboid, GR, so that they can squeeze out of the capillary walls, something called diapedesis. Nerve cells are long so that they can conduct impulses. Muscle cells are long and contractile so that they can pull or squeeze parts. GR, give reasons. Guard cells are bean shaped to open and close the stomatal pore. That's a function. Func. Now figure 2.6, double tick them and practice it for homework. We will study the various organelles, their characteristics and their functions in the second part of the chapter. The most important parts are the nucleus. The nucleus has various parts inside it, and most importantly, it has chromatin fibers made up of DNA. More about it later. Mitochondrion, if you remember, is the powerhouse of the cell. Then we have the endoplasmic reticulum, centrioles only in animal cells, Golgi body, ribosomes. Plants don't have centrioles, and they have cell wall. They do not even have lysosomes, which is the suicide bag of the cell. But all these cells have a cell membrane. Now, the cell organelles definition is they are definite small structures with a specific function inside the cell. Now, all the theory out here is read because we are going to study this from a table. But learn this sentence that the cotton, jute, and coconut fibers are actually cell walls or the dead cells. Rest all of this market is read. But this blue table is to be studied. The living parts and the non-living parts. Cell wall is non-living. Then in the cytoplasm, we have a few cell inclusions like granules and vacuoles, and even fat droplets. They are non-living, but these are all living. In the nucleus also we have living things. Remember, nucleoplasm is a living thing. Rest all this is just read. But learn this paragraph. We will study the second part that plants have plastids which animals don't have, which are of various types: leucoplasts, chromoplasts, and chloroplasts. Chloroplasts have chlorophyll for photosynthesis. Chromoplasts have pigments which give color to fruits and vegetables. But there are some pigments like anthocyanins which are not in the plastids. They are in the cell sap of the vacuoles. You see, vacuoles are full of water and stored minerals and wastes. They have anthocyanins which give it a violet color or blue color or purple color. So the brinjal has anthocyanin, whereas the xanthophyll and carotene of tomato and carrot are inside the chromoplasts. The rest, just read. This is a give reason. A raw tomato is green, but when it ripens, it becomes red. Well, that's because raw tomatoes have a lot of chlorophyll. But as it matures, the chlorophyll disintegrates, and now only the carotene is left. So the carotene, which is red in color, was there initially, but it was masked because of the chlorophyll. Again, this is read, because all of this is covered in this table 2.1. We are going to study from here. This is read. Double tick the A diagram of a nucleus. Practice it for homework along with the labeling. Now remember, the number of chromosomes in each species is fixed. Every human cell has 46 chromosomes, 23 from your mother and 23 from your father. Around 14 years ago, when your dad's sperm and your mother's ovum had fertilized each other, a zygote was created and you were miraculously conceived. And then that multiplied several times over a course of 9 months to create a cute little baby called you 14 years ago. Remember that event? So humans have 46 chromosomes, but a gorilla might have 48 chromosomes. So different species have different number of chromosomes. Cancel this, you don't have to learn it unless your teacher is in the school teacher in the mood of making you learn useless things. Insects have more than 1,000 chromosomes per cell, and each cell is a replica of the other. Same chromosomes are copied when cell division occurs. But everybody in the cat family has 36 chromosomes, be it the cat, 38 chromosomes, be it the cat, tiger, lion. So the number of chromosomes is not what matters. What matters is what is mentioned inside the DNA of the chromosomes, the genes, the ATGC, which has all the information about you even before you were born. The color of your iris, your height, will you have a heart disease, how many wings will you have, if at all, will you have chloroplasts, will you like math. A lot of things about you are predetermined in your DNA, which you got from your parents. And of course, the environment you grow in also matters. More about it in the chapter Genetics in 10th standard. DNA fingerprinting is just extra, not in syllabus. It can help you to identify to which organism the cell belongs. Forensic experts use DNA fingerprinting to catch culprits. If even a hair follicle is found at the crime scene, they can check the DNA with that of the suspects and catch the culprit. Or if you have doubts whether you are truly the child of your parents, then you can go for a DNA test. Table 2.1 is the most important part of the chapter. You learn this table and you've learned half the chapter. So I'll cover this in part 2. Now moving on, Differentiate between plants and animal cells. We have already double ticked the diagrams earlier, so I'm not going to double tick again. Rather, let's double tick the bacteria cell. It's a single cell, it's very simple structure. It has a cell membrane and cell wall, but it also has a capsule, another layer of protection, and that is why boiling may not be able to kill certain bacteria. It does not have a nucleus, so it's a very primitive cell called prokaryotes. It's believed that we all evolved from simple organisms like this billions of years ago. So give them respect, they might be your ancestors. They have glycogen granules which serve as food for them. They have a mesosome. Their functions are not important. Plasmid is like a chromosome. And they may have flagellum for locomotion to swim around. Cytoplasm is a jelly-like structure, the fluid inside the entire cell. All organelles are inside the cytoplasm. Ribosomes help in protein synthesis. They don't have any other organelles like mitochondria, Golgi body, etc. Hence, they are called prokaryotes. Whereas these advanced cells of amoeba, mango tree, animals, they are called eukaryotes. They have a well-defined nucleus and many organelles. Now, the differences between plants and animals: they have a cell wall made up of cellulose. They don't have a cell wall. Centrosome is not present. Centrosome is present. Centrosome helps animals to do cell division. Plant cells can do cell division without the help of centrosome. They have large vacuoles. They don't have vacuoles, and even if they do, they're very small and temporary. They have plastids like chloroplasts. Animal cells don't have it. Plant cells are usually larger with a well-defined cell wall boundary. Animal cells are smaller with less distinct boundaries. The cytoplasm is not so dense here, whereas here it is very dense and many and granular. They have less cytoplasm because most of the space is occupied by the vacuoles and the nucleus. So the cytoplasm is pushed to the periphery, that is the boundaries. Animals have a lot of cytoplasm. Now the cytoplasm plus the nucleus together is called the protoplasm. So all the living substances in an organism inside the cell membrane together is called the protoplasm. It is a very complex substance. It is made up of so many elements and compounds. It is nearly impossible to study the chemical analysis of a protoplasm because the moment you remove it from the cell, it dies. It stops being living. It ceases to be protoplasm. So mark it as a GR. So how did the protoplasm come into existence? What is it that gives life to a protoplasm? That's a mystery because we can't create cytoplasm from scratch by just mixing these chemicals in the laboratory. Mark the definition of a protoplasm. This is a detailed definition of a cell, but we have a better one initially. Now, prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells, let's understand the difference. Progress check is something you'll have to solve for homework, and if you have any doubts, ask me. Make sure you read the whole chapter before you solve exercises for homework. And solving exercises is very crucial for learning the science chapters because many questions are application based. You won't find answers directly. You'll have to think about it. And don't just Google the answers, they may be inaccurate and it won't help you to learn. The prokaryotic cells, they don't have a well-defined nucleus, whereas eukaryotic cells do have a well-defined nucleus with a nuclear membrane. They have a single chromosome, a single strand of DNA floating in the cytoplasm. The eukaryotic cells may have multiple chromosomes. They do have small ribosomes, they have larger ribosomes, but they don't have any other organelles, whereas they do have other organelles. Examples have to be learnt. Now the examples to show that cells are the functional unit of life. Growth is because of cells. We grow because our cells grow. Cells divide. For the first 18 years or so, you grow vertically, and then you grow horizontally as your tummy comes out and you become fatter. Repair. Whenever your skin is damaged, cell division happens to repair it. If your bone is fractured, new bone cells grow. Movement is because of cells, because of muscles and skeleton. Animals move because of their cells. Plants move, like the stomata is closed by guard cells because of the movement of the cells. These 3 points are just read. Feeding and nutrition. Yeah, we digest food and the enzymes are released by our cells, like our salivary glands. Circulation of blood is thanks to cells of the muscles of the heart, which pump the blood made up of cells. Respiration is because of cells. Protection against disease is because of white blood cells. This point is just read. Thermoregulation is because of our skin cells. For example, during hot weather, our body still maintains a temperature of 37 degrees Celsius. Sweat is produced by the sweat glands of our cells in the skin. Reproduction is because of cells. This is just read, not important. Inheritance is because of cells. We are like our parents because the chromosomes are transmitted from the parents to the offspring. So with this, we finish the chapter.
Hi students, this is AJ sir. If you found this video useful, press the like button. Also, if you'd like to enroll for my test series or online lectures, email me or message me on Instagram. Check my description for more information.